Hello students, welcome to Writer's Workshop. So in Writer's Workshop we've been working on our small moments, and I've been reminding you to go back and review and reread your small moments to make sure that you're adding enough details about who, what, when, where, and how did it feel, right? But today we're going to talk about something different for Writer's Workshop. We're going to talk about editing. So editing is fixing the mistakes in your writing, making sure your writing has correct punctuation, capitalization, and spelling. So editing is really being word detectives. It's zooming in on the letters, the words, the punctuation, and making sure it's all as correct as possible. That's quite different from when we think about the ideas in our writing and the details. This is really zooming in on the letters and the words. So let's talk about punctuation. Remember, punctuation are things like exclamation marks when you want to give it some oomph, a period at the end of every sentence, and a question mark when someone's asking a question. Capitalization has to do with using capital letters, okay? And there are rules for using capital letters. You use capital letters for the names of people and places, like Joe, Liz, Arlington, Key School. You use a capital letter when you're saying the word I as a word by itself. So I went to school today. The I has to be a capital. Now it's true, this I is at the beginning of a sentence, but it has to be a capital no matter where it is. If it's talking about you, I. And then, of course, we use capitals at the beginning of a sentence. The dog ran after the cat. There's a period at the end, but there's a capital at the beginning. So today we're just going to focus on punctuation and capitalization. And hopefully our spelling's okay, but we're not going to zoom in on that today. And I've been working on a fun story about Joe and I going sledding on a snow day last year. This is the second page of my story. So let's sneak peek it. You can see there's me and Joe. Actually that's me, that's Joe, right? I'm bigger, at the top of the hill, and we're going to slide down. I'm going to slide down, and actually on the third page it's going to be about how I knocked into the tree because I wasn't careful enough. But for today we're just on the second page. So here we go. Let's read it together. We went to the top of the hill. I was so excited. Joe gave me a big push. I went faster and faster. Woo, I yelled. So if you noticed, I sounded a little bit like a robot, but it wasn't just because it's the first time I'm reading it out to you. I think it's because there was no punctuation. If you look at this whole thing, I don't see any periods. I don't see, so I'm not sure where my sentences start and stop. And I also notice that there aren't any capital letters either, right? No capitals. So let's go back and see what we can fix. Let's see. Well, wait a minute. This is definitely the beginning of a sentence, right? So this has to be a capital W. Now there's two ways you can turn it into a capital. You could just cross it out and write a big giant W, or you could just stretch it up and make it big. Okay, so I'm just going to stretch it up. We went to the top of the hill. Wait a minute. We went to the top of the hill. I think that's where the sentence, that's one idea, right? One sentence, one idea. We went to the top of the hill. I'm going to put a period here. Period. Okay, so this is the first word in the next sentence. It's also an I, so it has to be a capital no matter what. So I'm going to stretch that up and make it an I. I was so excited. Joe gave, wait a minute. I was so excited, right? Maybe I want to give it some oomph, and otherwise it just runs on into the next words. Okay, I was so excited. I'm going to use an exclamation mark to give it some oomph. Okay, and so, oh, now this is the beginning of the next sentence. It is also someone's name. And remember, the first thing for capital letters, it said names of people and places. In fact, Joe's name is even there. So we better put a capital because it's somebody's name. So I can't really stretch that one, and I want to be clear that I'm putting a capital. So I'm gonna cross out that J, and I'm gonna put a big J. Joe. Joe gave me, now, you know, I could keep reading, but I think I'm going to reread so I have a clear idea of what's going on. We went to the top of the hill. I was so excited. Joe gave me a big push. I went, oh, wait a minute. No, Joe gave me a big push. Oh, one idea, one sentence. Joe gave me a big push. I'm going to put another period there. Oh, that's got to be a capital, right? I went faster and faster. Woo, I yelled. Oops, that's just kind of running on. I think we need to stop that sentence somewhere. Let's see. I went faster and faster. Oh, there, I could put a period there. Okay. Woo, I yelled. So this is the beginning of a sentence, so it definitely has to be a capital. So I'm going to stretch that up and make it a big one. Woo, I, remember? I as a word by itself has to be a capital also. So I'm going to make this a capital. Woo, I yelled. Oh, what do I need at the end of my sentence? A period. Now, we could stop there, but there's one other kind of punctuation, that we have learned about this year, and that's the kind you use when people are talking, right? And I'm talking there. I'm going woo. In fact, I think later I'm going to add to my picture and write a woo, a speech bubble. So remember we talked about quotation marks. Show that someone is talking. That someone could be a person, animal, or character. Good morning, said Mrs. Kilmer. Woof, barked the dog. Crash, went the thunder. So in this case, it's woo, I yelled. So I'm going to put my little quotation marks around it. Oh, and I yelled with oomph, so I'm going to put my exclamation mark. And I'm going to put my quotation marks around the talking part, right? Woo, I yelled, right? So it goes right around the talking part. And then you know what? I think I got to go up here and add that to my picture too, right? Because you want to add details to your pictures too. Woo! Okay, so let's reread the whole thing. We went to the top of the hill. I was so excited. Joe gave me a big push. I went faster and faster. Woo! I yelled. Yeah? So I want you to do this with your work now. I want you to reread and review your small moments and ask yourself if you are sure that you have correct punctuation. So that's correct, exclamation marks, periods, question marks at the end of your sentences, and that you have correct capitalization. That means capitals for names of people and places, capitals for the letter I as a word by itself, and capitals at the beginning of your sentences. Okay, off you go with editing.